Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show today. This is the Creative Collaboration Show with Chuck Anderson, and today, we're going to be talking with a guest who is an expert at lead generation and also, filling your pipeline full of prospects. And if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, likely this is something you think about every day. And so we're constantly having to generate leads. We're constantly having to find new prospects. We're constantly putting them in our pipeline and filling and then following up everyone that's in that pipeline. That is the sales cycle. That's how it works. And today, my guest is Tom Gay, who is a serial technical. What are we? Technology entrepreneur, has developed several technology platforms and I would say built seven companies, and we're going to talk about a couple of very important companies today that he has developed. But just to, is so much information that he's going to share with you on filling your pipeline. So, Tom, welcome to the show. Glad to have you
Thank
here.
Yes, thank you so much, Chuck. It's an honor to be here with you. I've watched you for a good long while, and to even be teamed up with you today is really super. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm really looking forward to this deep dive conversation. And, I remember when you and I, first or last met one-on-one late last year, we had a really, good conversation about some of the tech that you have built. And I have clients who use your platforms and partners who use your platforms. And, so this conversation's been a long time coming. So now, my very short and butchered introduction was, a way to start the episode. I think a great place to continue on that, Tom, is have you share a little bit more of the details about who you are and kind of the work you do, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you. I think a good way to characterize it is I've been a technology guy by accident. I'm really more of a marketing guy who's found technology creates a way to solve a problem. For all of the companies that I've started, it always started with someone coming to me and saying, "We have a problem. Can you do something about it?" And we adopted a little mantra that said, "Well, anytime more than one person has a problem, there's an opportunity to build a system to solve it." And if enough people have it, then you may have a market and a marketplace and a company to make. And that's led to 7 companies over the years. And a good example, the first one, it's a fast story. It was in the late 70s, early 80s, and retail chains and fast food chains were proliferating across the US. And a lot of the places they would put them would fail. So they came to us, small consulting firm that I was a principal in, said, "Can you build a system to help us tell whether a site will be good if we build there or not?" And we ended up building mathematical forecasting tools that turned into an $80 million company, worked for practically every retail and restaurant chain in North America, went outside as well, and ended up selling that at the end of the 80s for a very nice outcome. And it started with a little problem. We buy a piece of property and it fails. And that led to a new company that I started a few weeks later after selling it. I've got this disease of startitis. And and I started with
A lot of us have that disease.
oh, it's really a pandemic in my family.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, another company, Chuck, that started right after was, "I'm an insurance company. How do I know if this property that I'm writing a policy on is insurable?" Well, since I knew a little bit about arithmetic and programming there, um, 2 people turned it into 800 people inside of 9 years, took it to NASDAQ, went public, and we owned, in the course of that, if you say property, we ended up owning most of the nation's multiple listing services because that's where property begins. That's where insurance begins in terms of property, a transaction. and we sold that to a big title insurance organization, Fidelity National Financial, and on we go. Um, and over the big transition point was doing a turnaround for a gent who was a referral sales trainer. And when I saw what he trained on and learned, and we then turned his company around, I said, we can take all of this knowledge and turn it into a software tool. And that became refer.com with close to 5 million subscribers globally, and sold that into a private equity firm about 6 or 7 years ago. And there's been lots of little stories in between then, but it's fun. Someone came to me. This is a fun story. Someone came to me, a dear friend of mine. You may have met Jeff Sheehan from Atlanta. Um, Big influencer on internet and on LinkedIn and in social media. He came to me and says, "Tom, I've known you for 10 years. I have a problem. What do I do with these saved Zoom chats that I get when I come out of a networking meeting? It's it's horrible. I can't use what we save." I said, "Jeff, let me take a look at it." A few months later, we have a program that's you see above called ChatBridge. We just said, well, there's a problem that one person has. It's the same problem was owned by tens of thousands, if not millions more. What could we do? And that led to the building of a exciting product that is now reaching into global audiences. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always been find the problem first, find a way to solve it efficiently, and if you're lucky, you may have a company in the making.
Exactly, and that exactly it. And even in my journey, we've come up with that same that same thing is learning to recognize the opportunities, and what you did was you found a way to solve a problem, and that problem, it's a huge problem that exists. I would say, especially post 2020, because now in for the lack of a better term, post pandemic world. Where virtual networking opportunities are more plentiful than they've ever been and have now become a normal way of prospecting or finding partners or whatever. And the work that I do with affiliates, especially, where we're on networking meetings every single day, looking for partnerships, looking for affiliates. And you're right, like the chat that you get, it's like trying to take a sip of water from a fire hose. It's so much information, and then how do you have the patience to go back and go through it all, and then so that you can follow up with everybody? And if you don't follow up with everybody, what was the point of being there in the first place? So you solve
Yeah,
that problem.
yeah. I'll give you a good example there. We've both gone to some networking meetings in common, and there's one I go to regularly where there's 130 to 140 people. And as they go through the process of how they present that meeting, everyone gets a chance to speak to everyone else. And very often there's 1,000 chat posts in a meeting like that. Someone will post four, five, or six, or seven times. So you take 130 times 5 or 10, you've got 1,000 chat posts. What happens is nothing. People don't do anything with it. So they just spent an hour and a half on something that was a waste of valuable time. And there's enormous gold. I use the title of the book, 3 Feet from Gold. The people who are doing networking today and using virtual platforms literally are standing 3 feet from gold with what lives inside of that saved Zoom chat. And the question is, how do you dig that 3 feet to get into that gold mine that's awaiting you?
That is such a great point. And sometimes all it takes is just one good connection, and it can exponentially grow your business. I've lived that numerous times. And then, but it's you're always looking for those relationships, and you never know which one is going to be that one that does turn into gold. And like you said, you could have met that person numerous times, or you could have bumped into you're attending the same meetings numerous times, and unless you're following up really well, then you you might miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And today with the uh, immersion we have in virtual networking, I've created a sort of a flow chart or an illustration. I call it a sales ecosystem. And what I mean by that is we start everywhere at the networking level, but the results come by how you follow up, and then they require you turning that suspect that you're following up with into a prospect, which means communications and relationship building. And with the few that make it through that filter, it's sort of like narrowing down the ecosystem is turning you towards building a relationship, which then creates a real prospect and leads to a sale or partner or an affiliate relationship or whatever it is you're looking for, speaking stage. But it starts here broadly in this networking ecosystem, and you've got to break it down through step by step by step to get it to the point where you're getting the results that you're looking for.
Mm.
And it's it, it's taken something that looks pretty, random, if you will, or disorganized, and puts it into an orderly flow so that you can do the right things at the right point, at the right stage in that process.
So, again, staying on this idea of the problem that is being solved. I mean, there's two things. One is, I mean, networking and following up from that networking. And what you and I were talking about even before this interview was, filling your pipeline and following up and all of that. And so you've got these two amazing products that do that. Let's talk a little bit about because so many people in my audience and in my network, they are attending these networking meetings all the time. And so
Mm-hmm.
so tell them a little bit about what the program does, and what are some of the steps that they should be taking to make sure that they are not missing out on these opportunities, like you said, 3 feet from gold.
Yeah, that's thank you. What they should be doing, and again, obviously, I'm here with a platform, and it has organized the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'll I'll describe what happens and see if that doesn't create an understanding that we both are seeking here. You go to a networking meeting, you save the chat. Everyone screams. There's two things we've learned in our language today: save the chat and you're muted. Okay,
Yes.
so we're not going to talk about the mute. We're going to talk about save the chat. It's now automatically downloaded to your computer to a documents file with a Zoom brand on it, label on it. And that's usually where it ends up staying unused. With the tool that we have, it's called ChatBridge Connect. It's the bridge between Zoom chat and the opportunity that lies inside of that file. You get you have a saved Zoom chat, and most people are using the vanilla save chat. Some people have little AI tools that do a little work with it. Zoom has a little AI tool, doesn't work with it. We don't care. We we work with all that we've discovered. In a couple of milliseconds, when you bring that awful to use .text file into ChatBridge, it converts it into a follow-up database organized by name, alphabetized by attendee name, if you will. If they posted once or 17 times, all of those posts have been brought into their record for that person. So now you have a way to screen everything that they posted. If they've added their email address and phone numbers, it's all displayed there because that's the start of a follow-up. But before you follow up, you want to look at what they said in chat, one click on a little icon and up posts everything they said for the whole day in that meeting. But if they've added links, like oftentimes you'll see a link to their LinkedIn profile, or their calendaring tool or their website. If they've added that to their chat, we've extracted that, put it under another icon. You click on that and you can open up their profile in LinkedIn or Facebook or Linktree or whatever else it is that they put there. And now all of a sudden, you've got the advantage of seeing who they are, seeing how to contact them, seeing what they said that may attract you towards them because they could be a prospect or a speaking opportunity or whatever. Click, and this is important, this next step, click on their links to find out what they're all about. Because in order for you to turn that contact into an opportunity, you need to pass through the gateway of relationship. See what they're all about, learn what their interests are, where they went to school, what their causes may be, whatever it is that you're going into. So now you're equipped with information on how to talk to them. I'll give you an example. I got one of those introductions from a friend. Tom meet Charlie. Charlie meet Tom. The person who introduced me, I have a good standing with, so I knew it would be a good introduction. I went to Charlie's LinkedIn page, learned that he's a Miami Dolphins fan, learned that he's a director of the Little League youth baseball in his city. Now I have two pieces of information about him. There was more. I have these two pieces of information that I now bring over into my follow-up conversation and lead with that. When I lead with things about what anyone else cares about, the bridge of trust starts to be formed. So we become receptive to communicating when we're talking with people who show interest in what it is that we have an interest in. And that's what ChatBridge enables, I should say. Mm-hmm. Now, I can do a few things with that. I take Charlie and I put a click next to him. I can go through a whole list of 125, 30 names in 20 minutes and find the 10 that I want to follow up with. Screen quickly, check. Screen again, check. Go down 5 places till I find another one. Now, with a click of the mouse, those 10 people are set aside into your follow-up system. I can do more with it. I can export that list of people if I want to work with it in a CRM or take it outside somewhere. I can send it over to one of our other tools that we provide. But it's fast, it's easy, simple. Doesn't even need a user guide. We've made it that simple. And some people, I'll give you an example. There's a client we have, a raving fan. She had 20 saved Zoom chats. She sent me a note saying she was amazed. In 30 minutes, she had uploaded all 20 into ChatBridge and found 400 people she had not followed up with. I'd simply missed. Now she had these 400 in a new list of candidates. I call them suspects, suspect versus prospect. And she was just beside herself at how easy it was.
Amazing. I can't tell you how many times, like I said, I'm on these networking meetings every single day, and I open up the chat and it's overwhelming. It's first of all, I make notes of everybody that I met or that I heard that I want to follow up with. But then to go back later and find that information in the chat, well, first of all, it can take a lot more than 20 minutes, especially if we're talking multiple people. And I think that's where it falls down when we don't have a lot of time to do that, and then to go back and get all that information out of there. I love what you said, and especially what I heard you say is you do your homework, and that is go and learn, go and click on their LinkedIn, go and click on their social profiles, learn a few things about that. That's a key tip. I mean, it's not about the automation, but I mean, that's a key tip that I do. Let's talk a little bit about that and the value of really getting to know who you're following up with.
Well, it is vital, and I've spent the last 15 years of my life teaching professionals that is the key to getting in the door You will break through the gatekeepers. You will break through the barriers we all put up if you will simply build a relationship that reaches over those barriers into the areas of interest of the people that you're trying to meet. I have a lot of people in my client list who come out of the insurance business. Well, they're in the insurance business, and they always face the problem of people not wanting to talk with them because they know they're going to get offered something that they don't feel they need or don't know enough about to really recognize the need. Well, if you go in to sell insurance, you're not going to likely make the grade. If you go in to show them your character and your competence, showing them that you care about them, and also you're competent about what it is that you do, those two things together are going to create what we call the trust bridge. And across that trust bridge, business is done. And um, you know, I have it's sort of an amazing story. I have one client who spent about $300 on a piece of software in my last company that helped him do that. In his first year, he got $32 million in AUM added to the portfolio he was managing. And, you know, that's $250,000 a year income for a one-time investment, such as it was back then. And that'll keep paying him for as long as he takes good care of his clients. Relationships always trump anything in the digital marketing space. I know I may offend some of your viewers, but I don't mean to do that. I just mean to say, uh, don't leave out the people to people side of this, because when you bring it in, you're going to stand out from everybody else. So
Yeah, well, you're certainly not going to offend me, and you know, my audience and especially my clients hear me say all the time, you know, with our work with recruiting affiliates and doing JV partner deals and such, is that the foundation of all of this is the R word. Well, I always ask people, like, do you guys remember what I said the R word is? And the R word is relationship. You
mm-hmm.
gotta build relationships. And what I love about, especially as you were describing, you know, that adding that feature to ChatBridge is going and learning a few things. It helps to start the relationship. Like you said, it gets through the gatekeepers and it brings the filters down for sure, where you can actually, it's real connection. And all the time I'm spammed on LinkedIn say, oh, I want to connect. And so okay, great. And so you connect, and what's the very first thing they do is they spew their offer. uh, you know, they and my response is, that's not connection.
Yeah, I call that the show up and throw up style of marketing. It doesn't work. In fact, it's worse now because there are more automated bots that are doing the showing up and throwing than ever.
Mhm.
And you know, I teach a little segment of what I provide called an appreciation exercise. So it's built into one of my software tools, and it's easy to say you can't go wrong by being appreciative. Let's just accept that as a truism. Well, I had one client, and I struggle with the word client because they become friends pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He follows this process that I gave to him as a client. On his first day, I gave him instruction: go do this with 10 people. On his very first day, he sent me a message back, said, Tom, I had 6 people respond back to me immediately when I did this. And one of them gave me a referral to someone who needs to talk to me about what it is I do on my first day. It's because we led with the R word, which is the subset of that is appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best marketing mechanisms that I've ever seen.
There, and it requires work. in what I love about that is, and it doesn't have to, take you a long time. And what you described ChatBridge does is it saves you a lot of time in doing that. But just spend a few minutes on their website, send us a few minutes on their social media, learning about the person you're connecting with, and have real connections. And I do believe that that's the foundation of all the affiliate relationships, the collaborations, the joint venture partnerships that we do. And it's building a relationship. Having a podcast interview like this is relationship building. We get to spend half an hour together.
Yeah, no,
Do
it's
that,
you're
and we get to know
exactly
you.
right.
Yeah.
You're
Hmm.
exactly right, Chuck. And as as I say it, when you have them by the relationships, their hearts and minds will follow. Okay.
That's beautiful.
Now that's a paraphrase of an old uh, Lyndon Johnson statement back in the '60s. There's probably no one listening to it old enough to remember him, but nevertheless, uh, relationships create bonds, and those bonds become the bridge across which everything we do or want to do can take place. And it's not going to happen inside of a LinkedIn bottified community or anything that's entirely digital.
Yeah, it really does need to be human to human interaction. You can't automate relationship building as much as people try,
Yeah,
because it's going to fall down somewhere, and it's not connection. It's
yeah.
just not.
Even AI will not deliver it to you. It can equip you, and it does, and I use it almost every day. However, it's incomplete. As I say, it's not incorrect to use it, it's incomplete to depend on it solely. And as you know, I have a software tool that is a relationship enablement tool, referral focused relationship enablement tool. And someone knocked me over about a month ago. He came to me and said, Tom, what you've done is you've taken the principles of Bob Berg's Go Giver book series, and very famous, well known.
Mhm.
And he says you basically put it into a systematic tool to build relationships. And go givers do sell more, as Bob's book title describes.
Wow, that is so true. And well, I even forgot that that's where that came from. But that really does, certainly clarify it for me. I mean, it's about as close to automation as a relationship building as you can get, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this is
So
fascinating. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, before we run out of time, I had two things I want to do. I've got a couple of follow-up questions for you, but I think most importantly, let's give some people some information on how they can connect with you about ChatBridge and Engage Pro, and we'll put those links in beneath this video and on the podcast. We'll put them all in there so people can get that from you. You want to tell them a little bit more about what they're clicking on and what their next steps should be.
Well, I would say everyone's first step should be to click on the link that takes them to ChatBridge. If they're in virtual networking, click on that link. They're going to find it's easy to understand, very economical, and it, as some of the people we work with in common say, it just works.
Mm.
When it's as simple as that. Um, and then from there, the next step will be, well, do I want to take these 5 people that I've met into a know, like, and trust relationship that will lead to our doing something together, sell my product, build a joint venture, become an affiliate, speak on their stage, whatever it is. Um, the ChatBridge tool connects with my other tool. The link is below as well, called Engage Pro. Engage Pro is a tool that will help you build a circle of trusted relationships, your own referral team, your partners, and they become partners for more than business. They become partners for life when you focus on what they care about. So we've created a couple of tools. We've tied them together, technically speaking. I won't give you the jargon, but one talks to the other. and very simple, very easy, and economical as well. Um, and one of the things I'm really proud of, I'll get in before we run out of time, is we were approached near the end of the year by a company that a lot of us are well familiar with by the name of Alignable.com, 8.5 million members. When they saw what we did, they said, we want to become a partner with you. So now our products are being offered by them for their audience of 8.5 million people. So the best I could say from that is we've proven it just by the character of what the product does.
I think that really sells it for me, and I highly recommend that anyone who is actively out there networking and prospecting and generating leads, you need to take a look at both of these products. First of all, if you are on any sort of virtual networking meetings where you need to go back through that chat and find the gold in there, find the people you want to follow up with, you need ChatBridge. And then when you want to build the relationships with those people, take a look at Engage Pro. We've got the links to both of those programs beneath this video. If you're watching this on video, if you're listening to this on podcast, all the links there are there as well. And Tom, I think I have to have you back again and maybe even come and speak to our group because in the work that my clients do with recruiting affiliates and joint venture partners, I think every single one of them should have this. And so we'll definitely be chatting more about that. This has been great. I think we've covered a lot of ground, but we've also only scratched the surface. So I always recommend people, take take action on what we've talked about here today. So before we sign off, I just have to ask because this has started off as a social experiment for me in some of my earlier episodes, and now it's just fascinating. I ask every guest while they're here if you could name just one book as a must-read book that everybody goes and checks out or make a difference in their business or their life or whatever it is, or maybe it's just been really impactful to you. What book would that be?
Well, thank you. And I've been a prolific reader. There is one book that I think is baked into everything that I am and do today. And that's a book published about 25 years ago by Dr. Robert Cialdini by the title of Influence. And influence, Cialdini is, I'll spell it, Cialdini, former professor at Arizona State University. After studying this, he came up with 5 factors that make you stand out as a person of influence in whatever circles you work in. Those 5 factors are built into what makes my software do what it does for people. So we married that with what we do. And I'll just give you one. One of the influence factors is the principle of scarcity. When you stand out by being one of the few who do the relationship building the right way, guess what? You grow in influence and you attract people towards you. So influence it's gold for people.
We could do an entire hour just on that. And, of course, I have not only read all 3 of Dr. Cialdini's books, but I am fascinated by everything that he has taught. And influence, I think, is required reading for anyone who markets themselves and and has a product that they sell, and to really understand how those principles work. And they're game changers. They're absolute game changers.
100% with you. We're joined together, hip to hip on that one.
Wonderful, Tom. This has been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed our time together. Of course, like we said, go get ChatBridge, go get Engage Pro, or at least check them out. The links are all there, and connect with Tom. We've got all the links there beneath the video and in the podcast show notes. So, Tom, as we bring this episode to a close, I'm just going to ask you if you have any final tips or words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with here today.
Probably the best one is is to stop, think about the people you're trying to connect with and build a relationship with, find out what they're really all about, and enter the conversation through that doorway. Put your own product aside, go talk to them about them. And what happens is the doors will open.
Mm-hmm. Talk to them about them.
Yes.
And that is the opposite of what we see so many people doing at these networking events. We could do another episode all on that.
That's
Brilliantly
true.
said.
Yeah.
Brilliantly
Thank you.
said. Tom, thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you as well. I hope you've learned something here today and make this meaningful. Take something you've learned here today, pick one thing, and take action on it. Maybe it's some follow up that has been eluding you for a while. You need to go and do that today. Or maybe it's to go and check out ChatBridge to make it easier for you. That is a good and easy action step for you to take here as well. So thank you to Tom. Thank you to our audience. This has been Chuck Anderson with the Creative Collaboration Show, and we'll see you on the next one, everybody. Thank you.